pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America, to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Roll call.
Here.
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 And here. Kevin's out of town. Tonight's special / workshop meeting is mainly about ideas of moving our town hall. Also, we're going to be talking to Dan and Ethan about Pine Hill Water, redoing some of the meter readers and the meters and whatnot. So to get that done and quickly and get Dan home before the sun goes down, we'll start with Dan.
Oh, okay. Okay, where should we begin? So I guess we came out, we took a look at what you have currently now in the pits and whatnot, and recommend that, first of all, there's two components to it, right? There's a meter, and then there's the reading portion of it, the radio that gets attached to it. There's a lot of different meters that are out there right now, and we recommend this meter because it's a 25-year meter. Our meter and our node, which we'll get to in a minute, our radio device, has battery replacement capability for the field. So basically one battery replacement will last you 25 years for the system then.
Wow.
Right, and we're the only ones who do that. So, which is nice. And basically what we have here, we have something which we call a multi-jet meter, which allows the water to kind of come in, even if it's difficult water and whatnot, it spins, and this will last for 25 years and keep everything going accurately for you. So with that meter, and then
they withstand the typical chemicals put into water systems?
It does.
Municipal systems?
It does.
Okay.
Yes, and we have a whole bunch of different types of meters. Some I wouldn't sell you. There's something called a positive displacement meter, which is called, and it's inaccurate, 5 to 7 years after it's in, makes noise in the residence. It's not something that I would recommend using. There's also something that's out now called ultrasonic meters, which is the latest craze, I guess. No moving parts in there at all, which is pretty cool actually. But for a residence, it's really designed for low flow, picking up the low flow. And low flow in residences really isn't all that prevalent. But in commercial meters, it is, and I would recommend it for that. So anything like 1 inch and above, you would probably use an ultrasonic meter. Right. I will sell you an ultrasonic meter if you want, but that's another $30 or $40 a meter that you really don't need to be spending. So this is adequate for what you need, and that's good enough. I mean, we're trying to keep costs down. That's the whole purpose of everything, right? So we have this here, and this will cost you under $100, which if you go to anybody else, I'm hearing $300 for some of these meters, $200 and something for these meters.
Right. There's quite a range in prices.
It really is. Well, because they think they have you, and you're smaller, so this way you don't get quantity discounts and all this other stuff they try to impose on you, but the bottom line is they're trying to hit you with as high a price as they can, and we don't do that. We're trying to save you money.
And will this meter work whether it's an electronic reader or a manual reader?
No, it has to have wires coming out of the meter. Yeah, so our device will connect to it but we need wires coming out. This device here is our radio, and as you see, it has 3-wire connection coming out, and it will hook 3 wires. We usually have wires coming out of this, and we would have 3 wires, and we would connect it into that. And there's a lot of ways to do that. We can do it with a connector on the end here, and a connector coming out of here, which is a little bit more price. For installation, easy, you can just snap it in, or you can actually just make the connections yourself, cook them up, put them into a pod, a grease pod, and then do it that way as well. So either way it works fine.
Is there a digital readout on the machine that the homeowner can see as well?
Yes, there's not digital.
Well, it represents digits.
Yes,
So, yeah.
But I mean, this is better than digital because it's the old style analog, so that
Yeah.
people like that. They can actually see their actual readings, And you're welcome to test that. And then this device here, we call it like a mushroom. It kind of comes out of the pit on top of the pit, so that
Not like that.
Not like that.
Different, but yes, I have one in my house.
And then what happens is it connects to this, it could connect to this as well, basically. And what happens is the meter is connected to this, and it's at the top of the pit.
You've seen it, yeah.
And this allows the signal to kind of come out of it and to transmit out. Okay? This device right
For
here is,
better reception.
yes.
Yeah.
And then this right here connects to the actual meter with the 3 wires. And what happens is it's a mesh system. So what that means is they bounce around until they can go to this collector. Now in your system here, we would have 2 collectors because you always want to have one as a backup. And basically it comes to here and takes the signal back to your computer, back in the office. So there's no more drive-by, no more walking around.
Oh, wow.
The signal just comes in
Okay.
on its own, which is nice.
You lost your job.
Yes, I was just thinking that myself.
No.
Well, that's funny, you know, when people try to justify these kind of purchases, say, oh, we can get rid of our meter reader now, we can get rid of this guy. But that's not the truth, because there's so many other things that have to be done now.
Yeah.
And I actually included, as I put some things together here, some of the things, additional things that have to be done. Now that you have the system, other things have to be verified, things have to, you know, you have to learn the software and kind of go through some of that. There's other things that can be done that need to be done. Some people have to hire the new people sometimes when they put a system in like this just to do other things. But now we don't have to. We already have people to do that.
Is it safe from being tampered with, or?
So we have tamper capability. So if somebody tries to touch it or tamper with it, you get a signal back, an indication back that's been tampered with.
Okay.
And you can also get text messages. You know, whoever you delegate to have these text messages, you can get a text message saying there's a tamper or there's a leak in this person's house. And the leaks now, that's the other beauty of this, right? Now, since the signals come in right away, the next day you can find out that whether you have a leak. You can go to somebody's house and say, hey, you have a toilet leak.
That's saving people money.
Yes, yes.
As
Down
well
the
as
road,
town-
it's not
as
waiting.
well as the town on chemicals and what have you, because when we have leaks, we're using more chemicals, obviously, because we're going through more gallons of water.
Exactly, exactly.
These are going to be much more accurate, way more accurate than you have now. So the first thing that's going to happen is that people are going to complain, how come my bill is much higher? Because when it's inaccurate, it goes against the utility,
Generally.
always. So right now, you're going to be recouping a lot of that money just from that.
Right.
So that's another way you're going to be saving money. Obviously, you're going to be saving money because you're not, for vehicles, driving around, not that that's a huge expense, but it's just another expense that you're going to save on, you know, as far as that goes.
Have we had any feedback from customers about the meter replacement? Anybody heard anything? I know when
No.
the
No,
wireless
because
ones hit
generally,
Woodstock, there
with
was
the
a lot of
meters
complaints.
with the meters going bad, people are paying less in.
Yeah.
You know,
Right.
unless they have a leak, and then they find out whether it's a couple of months or more or less. Oh, my bill is so high, and why is that? What happened? And you know, they had a leaky toilet or a leak under the sink or something, and didn't know about it. But this would alleviate.
Well, if you
But
have-
no
if you have
outcry
some-
yet from people about it in Pine Hill?
No.
No.
Good.
If you have
I mean,
snowbirds
it's-
going away too, sometimes water just fills the basement. I mean, that can happen too.
Yeah, yeah.
You know.
I mean, we had somebody who was, it happened to him a couple of times to freeze up or something, and it was between where the meter was in their house, but it was outside. It was, I mean, hundreds, thousands of dollars, a couple of $1,000s each time.
That's why I like dealing with New Yorkers. 'Cause I'm a New Yorker as well, and you know, I always ask the question, well, do you negotiate with them? Or no, we're taking it. We're getting our money. We get, you know. But I mean, I know
They
it's
always negotiate.
well, sometimes those bills are pretty high though,
Yeah.
and it's kind of hard for somebody to pay some of those bills if they didn't realize it was coming.
Well, when
you
you
know?
have a leak and it's a couple of
Yes.
$1,000s, sure.
Yes.
What about cybersecurity? Is that an issue?
It's
Is
all
that something-
secure. It's always an issue. You always have to consider it, but it's not hackable. I mean, I hate to say it's not hackable. I guess everything's hackable at some level, but it's very secure. We have encryption built in within the system and whatnot. So,
I mean, we're hearing about that a lot, even, you know,
Yes.
water systems that are just shut down because they're run on
right.
the computer. And
Now remember, this is only meter reading, so
Yeah.
this is all that
Yeah.
that aspect of it.
But
But
it's
it is
getting into
encrypted.
people's accounts and.
Yes.
what?
No, it's totally encrypted and secure within
Okay.
the system. So, yeah. And now this would hang here, you can hang this, this would go, you can hang this and then run a separate antenna up for about, 18, 20 feet somewhere. It could be on a building, could be anywhere. It needs power. So a couple of these devices need power, electricity to run.
So we would run it up on a utility pole?
You could do that,
Yeah.
yeah. Or if you had a higher building or something, you could do that too, like a school or something, whatever works for you.
But within a district, right?
Yes.
It has to be within how many feet of the?
Yeah, within a half mile, I guess,
Okay.
without,
So does each node has a half-mile range?
They do,
Okay,
They do.
that should be fine.
And they talk to each other
Yeah.
until they get to that collector.
right.
So
And if we found it, we did something called a propagation study. I have a picture of it here for you as well, where we basically took all your addresses and said, okay, based on this, how much infrastructure is needed, how much of this, and sometimes repeaters have to be filled in between if there's a longer distance than that, where it won't reach. So basically, we put repeaters in there. So we have some repeaters put into this system as well.
How much power do the nodes use?
Oh, they're 100 milliwatts.
And it's
not-
just the battery?
Yeah, it's nothing crazy. I didn't know how many of you were here, so
Complain about, oh, it's
it
one
actually
of my
worked
electric
out.
bill.
yeah, right.
I did have the pricing, the propagation study I brought with me.
I think I sent most of it to you, but
Yeah, yeah.
just to have a hard copy is nice too.
How long would installation take to complete Pine Hill with the new devices?
Depends who's doing it. So honestly, the reality of the situation is, it's so much easier having an installation company do it, but at the same time, it's almost double the price to do it because of New York prevailing wages.
Right.
But and I've seen the pit configuration, it is, it's gonna take a little time to do that.
Yeah.
Right.
You know what I mean? But if you wanted to have an installation company do it, you could. One thing I've included in here is one of the things we offer is a lease purchase as well. So you can have a 7-year lease purchase. And usually it's only 7 years. I was hoping it was gonna be 10, but it has to be over 100K for it to be 10 years. So it's under 100K, so it'd be a 7-year lease. And then, but the first year you pay nothing. So people say, well, how do I know it's gonna work in our system? It's in. If it's not working, you don't pay. It's in.
So 1 year from closing is 1 year after the last device is fully installed?
No, it's
or
1 year after you sign the contract.
On the contract, okay.
Yeah. But we'll have the equipment here within, 6 weeks, 6 to 8 weeks. You'll have all your meters, you'll have your system in. As far as hanging the collectors and the repeaters and everything, we do that. We have a project management team that comes in and does that.
Okay.
And make sure that the system is running. We don't drop it off at the town hall and say, good luck, I hope it works for you guys. Yeah. We're here working with you, helping you, training you, We're local, I'm local, we're all here to support you and whatnot, so.
Generally,
You'll handle the install?
I'm sorry.
Since we're not talking about an installation company, we're talking about you managing or doing the install, we talking about doing the install?
we're not yet talking about, that's what I was just gonna ask.
It comes down to funding, really. It comes down to,
I would assume that I would be part of it just because of the knowledge I have of the existing.
absolutely.
Right, you would organize it, but you wouldn't be doing it. We would hire people to do it, but what generally is the amount of time each installation takes for each unit? 4 hours or?
So I'm thinking about your system here, because now we're digging
You've
deep into
seen-
the,
right.
to get down in that pit, I'm sure is a little bit of a pain in the neck to change a meter out, right?
I pulled some of them, as far as I have a couple of people that do pull their meters when they leave, they shut a lot of water off and whatnot. I have one specifically that actually takes his, requests his meter be pulled out and the pipe drained for the season that he's gone. So I have done that. Depending if everything goes well, it's basically your 2 connections on each end. So you pull the meter up, you unscrew both of those connections, and then drop it back down. And
There's a shut-off valve right there.
There's a shut-off valve
Yeah.
on the incoming side.
Yeah.
Assuming everything goes well
Right.
on it from start to finish, I would say, at very least a half an hour,
Okay.
if everything goes well. And
So
if
saying
it's-
4 hours or $400,
If you pull a meter and a pipe breaks or the shut-off won't shut off or what have you, and you have to go up here, shut it off here, I can't give you an exact specific.
of course.
But it's, like I said, it's probably gonna be, site-specific to every meter as far as where the meter is.
Yeah, some are definitely not gonna shut off.
And after you do that, then you have to hook this guy up.
Correct.
To here.
That's
So
the
that's gonna
end.
be-
As far as just
Right.
taking the old meter out, that's what I've done.
Right.
And I can say
I mean, we'll hire a plumber who would have the experience to just be able to do that and has the tools to, you know.
Right.
So it'll be
You probably could say an
subcontracted
hour
out.
then.
Yeah.
You could probably say, once they get good at it, probably an hour per pit, I guess.
Well,
Seems fair.
unless they,
Unless it's a problem.
no, even if there isn't a problem. If they can do one in an hour, that means it takes 2 hours of billing time, because they gotta show up at the site, unpack, get to the thing, load back up, get back in the truck and drive to the next one. So however little it takes, double it.
Yeah.
Hopefully it's
Sure.
not quite as
That's
bad.
That's
So-
fair, that's fair.
Yeah, so we're,
Time-wise, you mean?
yeah,
Yes.
time-wise,
Yeah,
you know.
that's fair.
We're probably looking at install costs being close to the costs of the meters we're talking about.
Yeah.
Would be my
Correct.
rough case. Yeah. So twice the number here is what it'll actually cost.
Mm-hmm.
And what do we currently have in the water board account?
Anybody know?
80, 90 grand.
By the way, with this lease purchase, you
But
can
we
take.
still have fall.
Well, so yeah, so I mean, I have a couple of financial questions. I mean, so one, we've got 80, 90 grand, we do twice a year billing. What's approximately the amount that we get back in? Like, what's the billing bi-yearly amount? Do we know that offhand?
I don't.
But that's something that we could certainly get
Yeah,
that
I'll
number,
get that
number,
tomorrow
yeah.
when I talk to Amy when she comes.
Because, I
in.
mean, certainly
I think it's around 40 grand.
spreading
each.
the cost out across 7 years could be helpful.
Oh, absolutely.
Certainly trying to, drop
Oh,
somebody at one
I think-
time would be a challenge.
Absolutely.
I think financing is the only way
The
we
only
can
way,
do
yeah,
it, yeah.
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 Um,
But we can talk about that after
Yeah, yeah.
Dan.
yeah.
And you see the rates there, it's pretty competitive. As far as what's going on right now.
I mean, there are very low interest government loans that we could get through the EFC, Environmental Facilities Corporation, which we have the $1 million loan that we originally got for Pine Hill to redo the whole thing originally, like almost 20 years ago. We put a new reservoir in and a new treatment plant.
And we have a line of credit.
We have a line, we pay $50,000 a year, and that
So it's a
payment
fund
already.
or it's a.
Yeah, well, I'm not exactly sure. I'll have to talk with EFC, find out if we can even just, bump up another, whatever this amount is, 80 grand, and put that on the loan,
Oh, and add it to that loan?
add it to that current loan, and maybe stretch out
Because I mean,
another
if it's
10
20 years old,
years
it
of-
probably has better interest rates than anything now.
Yeah,
Obviously.
I would, yeah.
I mean, that could be worth looking
Yeah.
into. Yeah.
Obviously, it doesn't matter to me. We offer that to help you.
Right,
If there's
right,
a
and if
better,
that
you have a
doesn't
better way to
work-
do it,
Yeah. No.
that's
But we,
fine.
like I said, even if we financed this through Dan,
Mm-hmm.
we still have to finance the labor.
Mhm.
So we may have to go to both places.
Yeah.
Right.
But the project looks good. I mean, I
You
think
can
it makes sense to
You
do.
could probably do both with one.
It's just making sure we can.
Can we
Good
finance the
fund it.
labor through you?
Yeah, that's what I'm
Yeah.
saying.
Okay, do you know what the rate is, or do you have to look that
It's
up?
it's the same rate.
5.95.
I don't know what the rate of the plumber is, but I'm saying
No, I
the
know
same
what the
interest rate,
interest
yeah.
rate was.
And then you do have plumbers that will do this as well, just in case.
We have some installation companies that will
Okay,
do it.
that's what I'm
yeah.
asking.
But they
yes.
cost more.
But they're gonna be expensive for travel and.
Well, they
overall.
they're gonna have to set up here and deploy a team and all that. If you can get a local plumber, it'll certainly be cheaper for you guys.
Yeah. But I'm just saying, just in case, let's
Yeah.
say.
If
Yes,
needed.
we could do it.
Have my Rob will do it.
And that's what I'm saying, if you double the cost of the whole
Plumbers that are
thing,
looking for work.
that's probably where it's gonna come in,
Mm-hmm.
or close to it anyway.
COVID's over.
Right.
I don't know, I'm starting to hear a lot, but people getting it now again. It's like-
Don't
Yeah.
I know.
Yeah.
Anybody else have questions?
I guess the only one are these pits. Can this be done in the winter? I'm guessing not really.
I mean, can it? Sure.
But
Nobody's gonna want
this would be
to.
a spring project. For, yeah.
There'd be an
Depending on how
upcharge
much
for
snow
the
there
plumber.
is, you know.
Right.
Yeah. Well, I'm thinking the pits. Are they under?
One of the reasons that we're looking at or revisiting this is because right now, I would say probably insulation about this thick down on top of it, and then a manhole cover on top of that with a receiver in it. So, when I started out, it was 16 to 20 that, you know, had issues that I had to manually read, and now I'm up to about 80 out of the 167, you know, that I have to.
Digging the snow off.
Yeah.
Yeah, so when you do get 3 feet of snow, you know, if you don't know exactly where they are, you know, it takes me probably about, with my wife helping me, God bless her, it takes, you know, 6 to 8 hours to do the whole town for, you know, which is one of the reasons we swap them twice a year, so we're not fighting snow and whatnot. To
I'm
be
just-
able to find them.
Working through timeline, I mean, if we.
I didn't realize they were all, my water meter, the Nisha Water District, it's in my basement.
Completely different.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I just sitting there going,
Somewhere on the
oh.
outside of the house.
Well, I've got the reader on the outside,
Yes.
wired, but the meter itself is in the basement. There's nobody digging anything anywhere. Yeah, I didn't realize that they were all in pits and pipes.
When is your what are the dates of your reads? Just out of curiosity.
October 1st and
March 1st,
March, yeah, I believe March,
somewhere in
March, April 1st.
March, April.
Okay.
So we skip summer and winter, right?
Correct.
I'm just thinking timeline wise, I mean, if we approve this in September, 6 weeks to deliver, like you said, so that puts us to mid-October.
I mean, I don't want to get into logistically, I think we're going to have to put it out to some kind of bid.
You could get a mild winter too. You don't really know.
Yeah, I'm just thinking that the earliest that this could realistically happen would probably be next spring. I just if I've worked the math correctly on the
Absolutely, yeah.
timeline, I mean,
Yeah.
like I said, even ignoring bidding, if
Yeah.
it takes 6 weeks to deliver the devices, and we
then-
couldn't approve it until September 9th.
And
Okay,
then
I'm
get
reading
them
the meters by the end of
installed.
October, so.
Yeah, so I mean, all that is to say, I still think yeah, I think it makes sense. It's just we realistically couldn't actually implement the things until.
Yeah, it's gonna take a month at least, probably more, to put these in,
And we're suddenly,
depending on how big of a crew we get.
yeah.
The other thing I haven't included in here too, we want to replace the pit covers with the plastic ones.
Mhm.
So and that's not a huge cost, but it's something
Yeah,
that we're gonna have to do.
yeah.
Do you know how many pit covers have the plastic ones right now? I mean,
Off the top of my head, I would say I'm probably missing, well, functioning, I'm missing probably at least 80 of them that don't function, that the computer won't read.
that I'm just saying that are plastic other than metal.
Oh, 2?
2 are plastic or 2 are metal?
2 are plastic, the rest are metal.
Very good.
I will need the dimensions of
Really
those.
hooking
Okay.
these together, right?
Yeah, that's what I was hoping. But
Dan, just so you're aware, some of mine are 15 and some of them are, I don't have an exact measurement for you, but they're bigger than that. I want to say they're
18.
like
Okay.
22.
Obviously, the ones we get, we want to make it exact
Right, but
replica.
they're different, like you have, say, the restaurants and whatnot, that have, say, a 3/4 inch line feeding, have
Okay.
a larger meter on them.
Okay.
Which I don't know if those will net down, or if you have a larger meter for the, say, for the restaurants and what have you, the bigger buildings.
We have every size meter. We just have to figure out what it is.
Very good, so we would have to go through and figure that out as well.
Yes.
Um,
And we can get different colors for different sizes, maybe, if that makes sense. I don't know. If that helps you identify what's what, you know.
we just have to, that's more of, not that we need to get into it now, but,
Right.
you know, as far as, you know, I already had some complaints that you're aware of about a bright yellow one.
Yeah.
You know, but some of them do get hit with clouds and whatever else, so we do our best to make them, you know, visible.
Right.
Whereas if it's in your yard, you don't really want it bright orange. I
Right.
wouldn't anyway.
Right.
Again, I'm getting into, you know.
Yeah, we can talk about that.
Yes.
Okay.
Changing with the seasons, green or white.
Right. Christmas lights in some of them.
Own Christmas tree.
That's what the tower looks like.
Thanks, Dan.
Yeah.
Any questions? We're okay? We're good?
We're good.
Well,
We'll
thank you
reach
for having
out
me in.
if
Okay.
anybody else comes up with a question.
Okay, great. Thank you.
This is all, I think.
And there's also there's a software component to it that the inside person, whoever that is, who will be doing billing and whatnot.
Yeah.
I can have like a remote maybe demo with her or him at some point
Of course. that
to
would
kind of
be-
go over that and
Yeah, that would help.
show what you're gonna get, and because it's kind of impressive, it's kind of nice, you know,
Yeah.
to see.
Yeah, I mean, to have it right there, live, basically, you know, live feed at all
That's-
times. It's,
and it's going to flag it like that. You
Yeah,
know,
yeah,
that's
yeah.
the cool part about it. You're not going to.
Yeah.
It's going to be almost no turnaround.
The other thing I didn't talk about that we have, if you have some repeat offenders, we do have remote shut-off valves that could go into it.
Okay.
So that from the office, that person can actually hit a button and basically shut the water off.
Uh-huh.
Or turn the water back on.
Right, right.
So if that's something of interest, we have that capability as well. So, if this,
Yeah.
it's there if you need it.
Yeah, yeah. That's always been handled financially. It goes from, if they don't make the payment directly to the town, then it goes on to
He was
the
thinking like there was a
county
leak,
tax.
and we just
Oh,
saw the water
right,
rushing
right.
away,
That
you
was
could,
the other end of it.
you
That
could
was
stop a
the-
leak
Yeah, yeah.
quickly.
Okay.
I know when
That would be useful.
That would
I
be-
just had one up on 28 there, where they called for no water. Michelle, sorry, I had no water at her place up there, and I turned the outside hose bib on, and there was no water in there. The meter was spinning like top. So somehow her main pipe in her basement got pulled out, and she told me that she hadn't had water since, I think, Friday night or Saturday.
Oh, jeez.
And I was just getting the call on Monday.
That's scary.
So she went through.
That's a lot of water.
I'm normally say around, on average in the summertime, 55,000 gallons, and I was up to 80,000 gallons a day, so that was 25,000 gallons a day that was going out through her residence.
Wow.
So.
So
if- if
she has
you
an
had-
indoor pool now?
What's that?
She has an indoor pool now?
Actually, it was right outside
Yeah.
the house.
Now,
So,
yeah.
Wow.
It's an outdoor pool.
fortunately for her, it was not in her house. She had
Wow.
enough restraints that it didn't get in her house, but she did get metered for 25,000 gallons a day for 2 days.
So that,
Until I got the call from Amy.
That's so scary.
I got the email from Amy and at 8 or 9, I went up at noon and we just turned the meter off and called her and told her you can call plumber.
Right.
She called the guy that put it in, he fixed everything and whatnot, and turned the water back on. But if, as you were saying, if somebody calls and says, I have no water, and then say whoever's on this computer system looks it up and sees that the meter is spinning like a top, they can just shut it off from there. I don't know how expensive that would be to do for everyone, but that's what popped into my head when
Yeah.
it said
No,
the
it's not-
offender.
But even just having the system alert Amy or somebody, hey, we got a water meter here that's spinning out of control. Somebody should go check it out. It's still, even
Right.
without the remote shut off, that's still huge.
Correct.
And we might know even before the resident.
Yeah.
Actually, probably most times we would know before the resident.
yeah. Seems very
You
bad.
can set thresholds with the software to say if this so X number of gallons or, is flowing more than normal or whatever, flag us,
Yeah.
that kind of stuff, which is kind of nice.
And do you have someone that sets up like default thresholds for that, or do we have to go
when
in?
we come in and do the training for the software, we set up the software with you to what
Okay.
you want and show you how to change it if you want to change it, how to
Okay.
generate reports,
And then we can go in later if we want to tweak it,
Absolutely.
or call you guys or whatever.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes, yes, yes.
Because I think you probably end up getting, say, like, Ballard Lake, that would end up defaulting because they're closed for just so long, and then when they open, all of a sudden they're using
Yeah.
saving gallons.
Yeah.
That would probably show up.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
That makes sense. Yeah.
Cool.
Yeah, if you have any
Yeah.
questions,
Thank you,
please,
Dan.
thank you.
Yeah,
Thank you for
thank you
having me
so
in. I appreciate it.
Thank you
Good
for
seeing
the-
Thank you,
Good seeing
Dan.
you guys.
Thank you.
Thank you for the trip. I appreciate it.
Sure, nice meeting you.
Yeah.
Good to see you.
Drive safe.
Have a good one.
Dan, you said about an hour and a half from here. You are?
Yes,
Yeah.
You're in Westchester? Where's
Rockland.
Rockland.
yeah. I'm in Pearl River,
Yep, cool.
which is on this side of the bridge.
Cool.
So, take care.
All right. Have a good one.
You too, thanks.
So I think I just want to see the financial side to just make sure we can, for-
On our end, you mean?
Yeah,
Yeah.
like, what our billings are, what we have in our
Right.
water, our water account, water district account.
Right.
Just make sure that we can actually
Sustain that.
make sure we can pay for it.
Yeah, yeah.
The idea seems great, it's just as long as we can actually,
Mm-hmm.
I mean, it sounds like we have to do
Well,
something anyway.
whether we can do it, what it will cost annually, if we amortize it over the.
It sounds like it's mostly
7-year
figuring out the
period.
financing. I mean,
Right.
whether what loan.
We didn't ask him. There are annual
Fees.
maintenance fees in here.
The annual was 3,800. It was
Right.
relatively.
It's not crazy, but I'm sure some of that is I think it's broken down actually.
Mostly the software license. It
Yeah.
looks like half of that software license, half of it is system hardware and infrastructure. So the computer and the thing on the computer.
That's Very well put. Very well put.
Yeah, no, that makes sense to me.
Okay. I mean, goes without saying, but I love it. I think it's awesome. I think it's
Yeah,
great.
no.
I think it's going to cause or solve a lot of problems, and it's going to be real quick to.
Well, certainly having to dig every these pits up
Yeah,
every
that's-
single time. That's
I mean,
nightmarish.
yeah, that's-
not gonna work.
I was hinting at it before, like I said, I don't know if anybody was following the Woodstock. Apparently they went through something like this and adding, and people were coming out saying, I don't want one of those in my house, it's gonna cause me brain cancer.
Well, they had the smart meter issues, and
Yes.
yeah, that's I don't believe.
Do we,
And this won't be in the house.
no, it'll be outside in the
Outside
pit, so I
in the
think,
pit.
We're
I
pretty
think
much-
it's
Don't
better.
put that into the
Putting-
universe.
I
And I don't think we are,
come on, we can't get a cell tower for this
We're-
very reason. Come on, guys.
I think what we're doing is pretty much just upgrading the same exact system we have.
yeah.
So it's not like we're adding.
reads your brain waves.
Yeah, yeah.
making
we're
it better.
Yes.
Not
Exactly.
helping.
These are just issued with tinfoil hat versus old.
And now somebody doesn't have to drive around outside your house.
So when there's a leak, we'll know immediately.
Right. You got it.
It's all a great idea. And
No, I think it makes a ton of sense as long as we can afford it. So
And as B said the last time, that it was over 20 years ago, so
Yeah.
if this meter is new and has a 25-year life,
And
yeah.
and the batteries can be changed.
yes.
So even if let's say in 25 years, let's say the batteries start going on the transponders, we can change the batteries out
Without having to. Yeah.
without having to necessarily change the meters. Now, whether we want to change the meters or not, once the batteries are wearing out, that's a different. We'll cross that bridge when we get to it. But it's an option, is what I'm trying to say.
they won't make batteries that'll work in 20.
In 25 years, right? I know, but maybe, and I don't think we should buy.
Some legacy battery man.
Yeah,
It'll all be USB-D by then.
right, yeah.
Exactly.
Can't wait.
Well, let's segue over to town hall relocation.
Mm-hmm.
Do you guys need for any of this?
Oh, no, yeah.
Okay, very good.
Unless you have something else you want to add.
Thank you very much for your time,
Yeah.
Ethan.
Thanks, yeah.
Sorry, I was late, so I lost a leg on one of my cabinets, so I'm gonna go try and figure that out.
Oh boy.
Yeah,
If you need me, let me know. Give me a call.
Will do.
All right.
appreciate it, guys, thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks, Ethan. So, we've talked about the school and, realized that, okay, it's not gonna make sense to, and I've told Victoria, we just, it just won't make sense for us, to put our resources towards purchasing that, facility, just because 214 floods and it will, close us, it'll stop us from access, keep us from accessing the facility. We're looking at some other options, nothing concrete. I've talked to the people who owns the Stonekill Farm down in, off of 28, near the diner. They're talking about selling off a 5-acre parcel, which is kind of the southernmost part of their, I guess there's a few parcels lined up. We're still in conversation with DEP for the Big Indian parcel, taking 8 acres there, doing what they call a land swap. But we're working out issues with conservation easements every time they bought a property, they put it into a state conservation easement. It was something that they had arranged with the state to make sure that it didn't get used for other things. The problem is that when they did each of these purchases, they would purchase from all over the region, not just in the county and not just the town, but in other counties, and they would make it easier for their legal team to put together all these SBLs under one conservation easement. So trying to pick that all apart and saying, oh, here's this SBL free of that conservation easement has been a little complicated, and they figured they could do it, but they just haven't worked it out yet. So that's just the legal snag right there. I think they want to do it. They've been working on it, and they have a team working on it. There are other, and also with buying the property, whether in Phoenicia or Big Indian, and there were a few other properties that it was a 20 acres here and 30 acres there that were vacant properties, 90% of which were on the side of a mountain and unbuildable, but there would be like a, a 5-acre parcel off of that would be buildable. Of course, like the DEP property, it's a vacant, raw piece of land with forest and rocks and gullies, and unlike the Stonekill Farms, which is flat and empty, easy to build on, those would be a little bit more, it would take some resources to clear and level the land and everything that's associated. But there are a couple of other parcels that are available in the Big Indian area for money, and we have the nothing's guaranteed, but we have a good chance of getting a grant from CWC to do land purchases to relocate the town hall and the highway garage. That shouldn't be an obstacle for us. However, getting a grant to build the facilities can be a bit of an obstacle. But I'm told that owning a piece of land to put the town hall and highway garage on is a good first step in getting a grant to build the town hall and highway garage.
In no particular order, that certainly rings true. I mean, every grant that I've kind of ever looked at, I mean, of that nature, what they're looking for is shovel ready projects.
Yeah, no one's going to fund a building if you haven't got land to put it on.
Right.
Yeah,
Right.
and so those have to be kind of approached separately. Land acquisition and building construction fundamentally wind up being different grants, different kind of processes. I think it's probably worth noting, we had the Labella study. It looked at 4 parcels. The school was the lowest rated of those parcels.
Right.
Glenbrook was the 3rd lowest rated of those parcels. The highest one was the Stony Kill Farm parcel that's near Phoenicia Diner, and the second one was the Big Indian parcel roughly near the Baptist camp. Their study focusing primarily on what was most buildable and most usable as a town hall, not necessarily looking at the financials to do so.
Right.
Like, it was an engineering study, not a financial study. So they were saying this is the best place to have a town hall and
I mean,
highway
in theory,
department.
the easiest one from an engineering point of view should be better financially.
Hopefully.
One would expect
Yeah,
that.
it's not a guarantee. But, yeah, I've liked the Big Indian one for centralization, even though the Stonekill Farm one's has a lot of other advantages from the buildability point of view.
I
But
feel the same
centralizing
way.
in Big Indian is very attractive.
Yeah.
I'd really like to see a cost comparison between those two options.
Well, and I think to some extent what actually becomes on the table. So it's a
Yeah.
private owner of Stonykill
Right,
Farms
neither one is just
who has to
guaranteed, yeah.
put up, if they are interested in selling, what their proposed pricing for that is, and on the same time
Yeah.
bird dogging the ownership and the unraveling of conservation easements on the Big Indian parcel. Those can happen in tandem, and then one of those potentially becomes available at all or more attractive based off of those conversations happening in tandem.
The private owner of Stonekill Farms is having the property assessed as they do, she said they do, every so many years, and they're doing that, they're in the process of doing that now, and it was something that was thought of for them to put the property on the market. So it's not, I mean, even though I brought it up a year ago, they are interested in actually selling the
So
property.
hopefully we should know sooner versus later what that would actually
Right,
cost.
right.
In the meantime, it seems like it might be advisable for us to put some money, to encumber some money for this purpose.
Oh, yeah.
Either ARPA funds or other funds as may exist.
Again, if we've got if we're putting some money out, you're also more likely to get more. Some people won't unless you're putting, sharing the risk,
Right,
sharing the responsibility.
Right, they want
But-
to see that you have skin in the game. and
That's the
that-
very expression I was looking for.
Yeah.
Skin in the game. Thank you.
And so between having an engineering study that we have made attempts to, locate a parcel, as well as we've put money towards moving this, that should show some
And-
reasonable amount
That
of
we're
initiative.
serious
And like
about it.
Robert
Yeah.
said, actually, earmarking it for that.
And we have to earmark our ARPA funds before the end of the year anyway.
Right.
At least some of the, all of the funds have to be earmarked. They don't all have to be earmarked for this, but
Right.
the funds have to be earmarked. So that's something that I think we might consider doing sooner versus later.
Yep.
Um,
Now, of the 20,000, I think, somewhere in that neighborhood that we have right now, we don't have to decide tonight, but we have to try and figure out, okay, do we want to earmark 200 towards town hall relocation, slash building, or more, or less?
Well, I think we have to see first what's already been earmarked, because there's some money that was earmarked for,
Of course.
Pine Hill heat pump, some that was earmarked for EV chargers, some that was earmarked for
Glenbrook?
Glenbrook Park. Yeah,
Right.
thank you, yeah.
Yeah.
And so those amounts have already been either encumbered or,
And the parking lot survey, which is just 2,500, but yeah.
but yeah, and so then seeing what the
Figure out
remainder is, and
The
then,
50 or 60,000 we have already.
encumbered, so
Yeah.
probably 240-ish maybe that might still be in play.
Do we have any idea what percentage of the whole people would want to see us investing? I imagine this is a $4 million project by the time you get land cleared and put a building on it.
I would think that at the moment
least.
we're looking basically at just the land acquisition section, so it's I don't think there's an immediate expectation of the entire cost of the building.
Okay.
So I
Good.
think we do what we can,
Yeah.
And my understanding from the Safari meeting is that DEP is having their conversations about the conservation easement process, and presumably the next Safari meeting they might have a status, whether that has any viability whatsoever or is in fact just kind of an intractable legal problem for them.
And I also asked DEP because there's been numbers thrown out that aren't verified or substantiated, but how much, if they were to buy, where they would do a buyout for our current facility. Maybe leaving the town hall as a meeting space, but because it's not so much in the floodplain, at least the basement is, but this upper part isn't. And we would have to clear out the basement, but if we left that, but how much would they pay us to actually buy out?
To
the
give up this
property? Like
parcel.
they do flood buyouts, and,
They're
yeah.
more worried about the town garage.
They're
garage.
mostly,
Yeah.
they mostly do not like the garage there.
Mhm.
And the berm along the creek that protects the garage and the town hall. They especially don't like the berm.
Mhm.
So they're gonna try and get me a close to a hard number as they can. Maybe they're doing an assessment, and that's how they'll just determine that.
Okay.
So, I was, if we did have this as a space, a meeting space, emergency space, then that would just alleviate a little bit of where the location of the town hall would be, too, right? Because you wouldn't have to worry about it being centralized, because we would have this as an emergency space as well.
That's what I'm-
If it, I don't know if it will be, but.
That's what I'm thinking.
I mean, yes, like I'm saying, it would be nice to have it in Big Indian, but
How would that work if DEP took the parcel?
I don't
If it left
know.
the building,
I,
I mean, the
They
entire
could-
parking lot.
yeah, do we write that into a clause, or do
I'm
we?
assuming they'd want to just
Well,
wipe
I
out
I'm
the
think-
whole
assuming
parking
too,
lot.
and I don't know if it can work.
Yeah.
that
Okay.
way. You know, and I wasn't thinking, I was thinking if anything, just as a evacuation center where, you know, people could, if.
That's what I'm talking,
If
yeah.
other places were flooding out and people needed a warm place or a cool place to
Right.
come to, that's what this would be hard as I mean, it could be used as a meeting space for other things.
That's what I was talking about, an evacuation spot like that. That's what
I
I
would
was.
think it would depend somewhat on what they're willing to give us for the parcel outright. If,
Right.
if just simply selling the entire, all of it is worth
Yeah.
enough money to justify another building, then okay. But if the amount that they would give for this parcel is a pittance, then suddenly, well, we might as well just keep the damn thing.
Yeah,
you know,
yeah,
like,
yeah. That's
Yeah,
true.
we'd have to work
Yeah,
out
like-
negotiations.
Like,
That's
what does
true.
that number mean?
Yeah.
We'll give you $1,000.
Well, yeah, I'll
Pass,
keep
you
it for
know.
that, yeah.
Add a couple zeros, suddenly you're
Here's $5.
Yeah.
Have
Yeah.
a good
cool.
time.
Yeah. You know.
Yeah.
But if, you know, if it funds an appropriate facility,
Yeah, that would be helpful.
Oh, yeah.
Just like thinking about those two parcels and like one of them not really being an option for the everyday buyer and the other one being something that somebody could potentially buy for business or housing, like.
And that's a consideration for us too. I mean,
Yeah.
in all the conversations I've had in the last couple of years, you know, people were pushing us towards, Stonekill Farms, and I'd be like, yeah, but that would be a great place to put anything.
Yeah.
And just
Anything
looking at the
else.
Next door indicates it could be a really like fabulous place for
and that's
business, and it is own business,
Yeah,
but,
yeah.
you know, when we think about our housing shortage, like, we're not gonna be able to build housing on the DEP land, but
Right.
we could potentially build
Right.
something on this other parcel, so
Right.
I just like to keep that in mind when we're.
I think that's why they have to go in dual tracks, because it's just not clear that the DEP parcel is going to be legally available at all. It's been discussed. There's sort of the theory of availability. It's just not clear it's
And that's
actually available.
That's almost a pie in the sky.
Even something that's been floated, you know,
Yeah.
as an idea, I don't think it would have been presented as something.
Well, my understanding is that they have never done one, ever.
Always just talked about it.
Like,
Oh,
it's been talked about. It's not explicitly illegal, but
Never been
it's
done.
never
But I love the
actually been
idea
done.
of,
Never been done.
Hey, like, you sell us that and we can
Yes.
have it. I mean, I
Yes.
think that's creative,
Yeah.
at least in
Yeah.
a way that,
It makes logical sense. It's just making sure that they don't close a door
right,
prematurely.
right. But yeah, anyway, that's, at the last meeting, this isn't about the town hall, but at the last meeting, it was mentioned, like, this idea also maybe pie in the sky of town considering funds towards the school for other community purposes. My inclination is there are no such funds for that we don't have the ability to buy two parcels right now, town hall being the more pressing. So I just wanted to follow up on that, because it was just mentioned, like maybe that there are other community uses or community needs, but
I mean,
not, then those.
I think that was mentioned, that there may be other community needs, but not that the town would buy it for those community needs, because as you stated, no, there's not.
there's no funds.
There's no funds.
I think it'd be great. It'd be fantastic if it could be used
Yeah.
for a community purpose. There's just no money.
I am in conversation with the executive. We haven't sat down yet. This is the county executive about a use for the school. That the county, if the county purchased it, it wouldn't be a town hall, and it wouldn't be a critical facility per se, but something that the town and I offered that perhaps the town and the county could partner and do something creative with the school, a community center of some sort, and other, seniors and highway. They have annexes, the county does, of whether it's the highway or,
Or Office of
Office of the
Aging.
Aging.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, because right now there's like a very small group of community organizations that are going to meet just to like discuss what it is we want, not within the context exclusively of that property. Because I think the reality is the time frame, the cost, and all the other considerations, like, let's not like, wedge ourselves in a position where we're thinking about it only within that context. But just understanding, that there are private developers who maybe see an opportunity and there could be interesting
And-
partnerships there.
And it's not to say that it's impossible to get funding from some sources like CWC for the school, as long as it's not, I mean, as a critical facility, as a town hall, we wouldn't get state or probably not any federal and CWC money because it's in the floodway. But we can get money to do possibly a community center. And that's why I'm trying to do a partnership with the county, and between the county getting money and maybe some other sources of funding, we can put something attractive together.
So they don't have the same concerns with the critical facility,
Right,
where it's like
right.
different types of
It's-
facility.
Right. I mean, as a critical facility, we can't put money into a place that will get cut off of in a disaster. And that just. Did anybody else want to talk about other things? I just wanted to throw these things out there so that our residents knew where we were standing and what we were doing and present.
I mean, just while we're here, we are meeting, Chief Muller-Liley, I believe Mike Williams, myself, and the people from the new timekeeping system will be meeting
Cool.
on the 23rd of August.
Oh, great.
So hopefully the ball will start actually really rolling with that. But,
Amazing.
yeah, I guess it takes time to implement it, but it's coming. So that's a good thing.
Good.
Mm-hmm.
I got nothing.
Well, we should look for other companies, try and put together some kind of a RFP
For the water meters?
For water systems,
Mhm.
water meter system, and possibly if we could look at doing Phoenicia as a new meters.
Phoenicia needs a funding conversation.
Phoenicia needs a
There's
funding
a long
conversation.
list for Phoenicia, yeah.
Do you
Yeah.
want to talk about Phoenicia water at all?
Well, there's some individuals who are interested in participating in the water board who have asked to participate in it,
Okay.
and I think it's worth us naming people to the water board. I don't think as far as I can tell, there's no requirement to remove anyone.
No.
It's not. It's just adding some fresh blood to a board that
Needs it.
has not met in 4 years.
Yeah.
And I think the overall charges, at least at some level, would be looking at the money in the water district account and the billings. The billings are, historically, they've been below the contribution rate necessary to be eligible for some grants,
Mm-hmm.
or perhaps all grants, but basically, there's an expectation that the water district participants, the folks in the water district, pay a certain amount of the costs, and if you're below that, then you're not eligible because their expectation is that you should be paying most of the way yourself. And
Yeah.
so we're below that, and so looking at where the amount is, what we charge on the water board, and what amount is necessary for grants is, I think, one of the day one sort of responsibilities on that. There's also a few projects, frankly, relatively minor ones, but things that have been long-standing that need to happen. The one that comes to my mind is an inspection of the water tower. It was recommended 15-something years ago. Not an exterior inspection, like a camera inspection, not something that a local person could do necessarily.
Right.
You need a technician with a to do that, and so getting the quotes necessary, finding the expertise to do that, assisting Rick with that type of work, doing that kind of administrative assistance is something that arguably has been within the water board's purview
Yeah.
forever. And I mean, ultimately, we have a board that hasn't been active and people who wish to be.
Yeah,
I mean, at some level, it's almost this.
that's a great idea.
Yeah, I mean, if there's people who want to care about the water and work
Yeah.
with Rick and sort out the problems, then it's hard to
Let's add them to the
to the
committee.
to the board, the committee. Yeah, sorry. Because I do think its finances are not nearly as strong as Pine Hill. I think that's a safe argument.
Sounds like a great idea. Fresh one.
Hmm.
Okay. Anybody else want to talk about it?
As far as this being, this type of system being implemented in Phoenicia, do we want to see how it works in Pine Hill? I mean, we're also talking about, there's a time period we're talking about here. This isn't going to happen until
Yeah.
Right.
spring.
Right.
The
I mean,
first year it's going to
I
work.
don't think we have time to quote both, and would that save us that much money if, there's 300 plus
This is what 184.
accounts.
184 meters is what's at least
184.
quoted within here.
Yes.
Personally, I think it makes sense to keep the projects
I mean,
separate.
it would be
like
great
Pine
for
Hill,
Phoenicia.
focus on
My
Pine Hill, let's get
understanding
Pine
is
Hill
last time
done.
somebody
Yeah,
checked,
I mean,
we're losing
I,
some ridiculous percentage of our water to leaks
Yeah.
in the town, and
Yeah, and Rick tries, he goes through with, there's a guy who comes from New York, rural water, and they have, he's got a sophisticated leak detector, and they go around and they try, but I'm sure there are older leaks here and there.
well, the number of people who say,
And a
yeah,
lot
I
of
wonder
them
if that's why
aren't
my
at a
front
house
yard
that-
is a swamp. It's like, we gotta start
Yeah,
hearing about those.
right.
mm-hmm. Yeah, I just want to make sure this, and I do believe it will be.
Yeah, and
I
I
just
don't
want
wanna hold
Yeah.
this up and we're.
No, I
It would be
think-
worth
yeah.
maybe just asking, as we get quotes, how much savings would we see if we had roughly double the order?
I mean, he did say we'd be able to get 10-year terms.
Yeah.
if it's over, if it's over 100,000, it's
We're
I mean, if
almost
this
there.
is 70,
Yeah.
then
Yeah.
that would easily put us over 100.
Yeah.
I just,
And then I also just noticed after he left, unfortunately, he said that meter was sub $100, but it is listed here at 125.
let's go grab him back. Huh?
I'm not a financier.
$98.
Unit price.
Unit price $98. The meter is actually up top.
Oh, all the way at the top. What's
Yep.
the 125 thing that we're getting 184 of? That's for bare wire?
Those are, I believe, those are the transponders.
Radio interface unit, yes. Okay, there we go.
So the actual meters are $98.
Under
The
100.
transponders are 125.
So that's a little misleading though, because for every one we need one of each, so it's really $223 per
Yes.
location. Yeah.
Yeah.
He did
Mhm.
say this is sub 100, so
I mean,
he didn't lie. He didn't lie.
correct. I mean, we could, I wouldn't. I'm not saying I would, but I believe you can get transponders for the old meters, but I think that would be,
Good money after bad.
yeah, I don't think
Yeah.
that would be doing us any favors here. I think if we're going to do it,
No,
especially,
new meters are a good thing.
yeah,
The meters they wear out, they have a shelf life and.
20 years.
Yeah,
Of the actual meters that we have in the pits are 20 years, and I think it's right around 20 years, if not a couple more than
Right.
20 years.
Yeah,
Right.
no.
So I think we're going to see,
No, I think it makes sense to figure out how to move forward with this project.
yeah. And I just don't want to, I think, like I was going to say, I think it will work. I think this is going to be awesome. But I'd hate to put all our, eggs in one basket, and then it's not this great thing that we thought it was, and then we do it for both, and we're like,
Right.
you know, why did Kyle tell us to do this, you know?
Blame Kyle. Kyle did
Do we know
this.
any other towns that have this?
This specific system?
Yeah.
He,
Oh, yeah,
Dan
we can
did,
get that.
Some
We can get a
referrals or
list from them,
reference.
right?
yes, Dan did tell us that a few towns recently did do this. And I can ask him and
Okay, cool, that'd be worth it.
just to, yeah, and you know, I can call them and see, hey, how's this working out for you? Yeah, I think that'd be definitely be worth doing.
All right. Okay, make a motion to adjourn.
Second?
All in favor?
Aye?
Aye.
Start signing some of these.
Drive to Queens.
Tonight?
Yeah.
Oh,
It's better
boy.
tonight than